All right, let's try something, a little bit of a thought experiment. What if we could look at the very foundations of physics? I mean, the absolute bedrock of reality through a completely new and, yeah, maybe even a radical lens.
Just imagine for a second all those huge, nagging mysteries in physics, the Big Bang, black holes, the nature of time itself. What if they aren't actually separate problems? What if they're all just symptoms, all stemming from one single fundamental assumption we made, and we just might have gotten it wrong?
Okay, so if there is a crack in the foundation of physics, where would you even start looking? Well, one really interesting alternative framework suggests the problem begins with something so basic, so fundamental, that we barely even think about it: the concept of nothing.
In standard physics, zero is a real thing. It's a state you can have, zero energy, a perfect vacuum. But this other perspective, let's call it the DLM perspective for now, it throws a huge wrench in that. It asks, wait a minute, can something that exists ever truly contain nothing? The idea here is that maybe zero isn't a value you can find inside our universe. Maybe it's just a symbol we use, a placeholder, for the absolute void outside of everything. And the fallout from that one idea is huge. I mean, think back to your math classes. If you can't have a zero inside your system, then you can never ever divide by zero. And what happens when we do that in physics? We get infinities, we get singularities, those infinitely dense, infinitely small points at the center of black holes, or at the very beginning of the Big Bang. This idea suggests that maybe, just maybe, those aren't real places at all. They could just be mathematical ghosts, created by us trying to put nothing where it doesn't belong. So if our whole concept of nothing might be on shaky ground, you can bet that's going to have some serious knock-on effects. It starts to pull on the threads of everything else. So let's see how this could totally reframe our understanding of two other absolute giants: time and matter. We all have this picture of time, right? It's like a river, flowing all around us. It's this external thing, a background dimension that everything happens in. But what if that's completely backwards? What if time isn't the river we're floating on, but it's the engine inside the boat? This perspective suggests time is an internal process. It's not something that happens to things, it is the thing happening. It's the constant looping motion of existence itself. So get this, every single particle, every system, is essentially generating its own little bubble of time. And this could potentially solve one of the biggest puzzles in all of physics, the arrow of time. Why does time only seem to flow forward? Why do we remember the past but not the future? Well, if time is this process of loops unfolding, then the forward direction isn't some deep cosmic mystery. It's just the way the process works. It's baked right in. It's just the natural, inherent direction of things, kind of like a ratchet that can only click forward. All right, let's keep pulling on that same thread and apply it to matter and energy. We all know E equals mc squared. And we usually think of that as a way to convert matter into energy. But what if they aren't two separate things at all? This framework proposes they're just two different phases of the exact same underlying motion. Matter is just the condensed, super tightly wound version of that motion. And that completely changes how you look at that famous equation. E equals mc squared stops being about converting one substance into another. It becomes more like a formula for a phase change. The analogy is perfect. Think about ice melting into water. You didn't destroy the ice to create water, right? No, you just changed the state of the exact same stuff, H2O. This view says that's what's happening. It's a phase translation, not a conversion. So, okay, we've questioned our ideas of zero, of time, of matter. So what's the big picture? How do all these new puzzle pieces actually fit together? Well, it turns out they might all point to one single, really elegant, unifying idea. And that core idea is called looping motion. The concept here is that reality isn't a collection of separate objects, particles, planets, people that are just obeying some external laws. Instead, existence is a single unified process, a self-looping system that's constantly in motion. It's actually kind of beautiful. It suggests we live in a universe of verbs, not nouns. And if you just run with that for a second, look at what it could mean. Forces, they aren't mysterious pushers or pulls anymore. They're just the geometric tension within the loop, kind of like a rubber band snapping back into shape. Those physical constants, like the speed of light, maybe they aren't arbitrary numbers. Maybe they're derived directly from the fundamental geometry of the loop itself.
And all that quantum weirdness, entanglement, superposition, maybe that's just what a complex looping reality looks like when we try to observe it with our linear minds.
This quote, this really gets to the heart of it. Existence is not a collection of things obeying laws. It's a looping law generating its own things. I mean, wow, that just flips the entire perspective on its head, doesn't it? It suggests we're not just in a universe that has laws, it suggests the universe is the law, and we are the things that it generates as it loops. So let's zoom out one last time and really look at the bigger picture this radical new framework is painting. It asks us to reconsider almost everything, yeah? But in return, it offers a potentially coherent and really unified picture of reality. You can really see the shift here. Where standard physics sees zero as a real quantity, this framework says it's just a symbolic projection. Where we see time as an external dimension, here it's an intrinsic recursion. Matter and energy go from being separate categories to just different phases of the same loop. And singularities? Not real infinities, but simply projection artifacts. It basically transforms our view of a linear universe, one that began and will end, into an eternal, recursive system constantly rephrasing itself. So, after all of that, this whole thought experiment leaves us with one final, pretty profound question. If reality isn't a straight line, but is actually a single eternal loop, what does that make us? Are we just fleeting patterns in some kind of cosmic recursion? It's a fascinating idea to ponder.